Welcome to Britain, where the government pledges 1.5 million homes, but forgets the builders, the land, and the money. Regulations? They've got plenty. Results? Not so much. And while ministers toss around buzzwords like brownfield passport and renters' rights, 90,000 families are being quietly shoved into poverty. But don't worry, they've got plans. Somewhere buried under a mountain of broken promises.
With all due respect, Secretary of State, data is showing a massive decline in house building starts. The sector is saying they do not have the skills and the workforce. A number of builders are saying that they do not have confidence because some of the regulation, which they rightly welcome on building safety, is holding up those houses coming forward. When you've got data and a report from the IPPR in January this year showing that 90,000 families will be pushed into poverty because of the shortfall in the local housing allowance, is that not a political choice by the government to continue to freeze that and push those children into poverty?
Well, I think it's important to state that any further decisions, like I say, we've already put £34 billion a year into housing support, and we've increased that in April of 2024. But the decisions on local housing allowance will be made in the round at the budget alongside the other decisions that the government have already made, which is it has had an impact on families. We're rolling out in September more childcare places and more support for families in work. And families will tell you the cost of childcare and the support around the school meals, the school uniforms, the breakfast clubs, these will all have an impact in the round, including the work that we've been doing on the Employment Rights Bill, which will give families more security as well. I think that you can't take one in isolation. A government has to have a number of priorities. We are investing in putting money into local housing allowance, but the truth is that the way to fix this problem is not by rents increasing significantly by having private landlords that are putting social tenants in private landlord accommodation. The way to fix this problem is by having more social housing for people that desperately need it.
It is. And just finally on that, again, even when the National Residential Landlords Association is telling us about the impact of local housing allowance, the very same children that we need to be in the breakfast clubs, their parents who need the jobs from the Employment Rights Bill, the flexibility they will get from being able to request flexible working, the jobs that will be created, the many millions of people that will see their wage increase from the increase in the minimum wage, they all still need a place to sleep.
That's right.
And that's not going to happen because we can't build the homes fast enough. So in the interim, they are renting within the private rented sector. But a lot of them are not able to rent locally because of the freeze on the local housing allowance.
I think, again, Chair, what we've done on top of that is the Renters' Rights Bill, which is protecting many, and the homelessness prevention and the extra money that we've set aside for that, which local councils can look at some of that and ways of preventing homelessness as well, but also around ending Section 21 no-fault evictions and some of the challenges that families face that lead them to homelessness in the first place, which we've seen where landlords will evict people, families with no excuse, and then will ramp up the rent and put somebody in because the housing market is in such a dire situation. So we've been taking measures to try and prevent some of those egregious type of practices at the same time as building the homes that we need and supporting families now through a number of measures to alleviate the pressures, the financial pressures that they're under. But the rents is one element of pressures on families, but there's a whole host of other pressures that families are facing, which we're trying to support them with as well.
Thank you. Just coming back to some of the points Lewis highlighted there, Secretary of State, and back to my other question around the fact that house building starts are quite low and the decline. What makes you confident that you will still hit your 1.5 million target during the course of this Parliament? Obviously, we've just celebrated 1 year last week. You've got 4 years left.
Yeah. So I'm listening to what the market is saying. I meet with them regularly, meet with developers, I meet with local authorities, and I'm tracking where we're at. As I said, the planning applications are up by 6% in the same quarter. That's the first indicator. We will start to get more data as we get into the autumn around starts and whether or not that's done enough. People have already welcomed the National Planning Policy Framework changes. They were the only ones that, in effect, kicked in. And even the OBR scored it in the score chart because they could see that that would deliver growth and speed up housing. We've made changes. We have a ministerial team that works with the sector on skills, and they're confident that they can meet the skills challenge to ramp up house building. And the planning and infrastructure bill that is in the Parliament at the moment will then also streamline some of the planning challenges that we face, so that we can ensure that where there is more thorny issues and more contentious planning, that has the planning whole committee, but that where there isn't, and we want to build out, so we've made announcements on supporting SMEs, the brownfield passport, which again will enable brownfield sites to come online much quicker, and supporting some of the remediation that may be needed to make sure that we have the brownfield first approach. So it's not just about saying we expect you to use brownfield first, it's about saying we will help remediate, we will support you by streamlining the planning process, and we will deliver by supporting SMEs, for example, with finances, which they again said financing upfront to be able to deliver on these sites is hard for them. We're already making changes that will support them in that process. So I'm confident that we can get there. It is a stretch target though, and I said that right from the beginning of this, that everything has to be going in the right direction with the wind behind us to get to 1.5 million homes. But I think Mr Foster and others have already alluded to it, that even with the 1.5 million homes target, that is still not going to fix everything that's wrong in the housing situation in this country. But what I hope by the end of this Parliament is you will see a massive big line that's going up in the right direction, that you can't stop it, that it's going to continue even if I don't, that you will see that line in the right way.
Thank you. Gagan, really quickly.
We have a very quick question. Thank you. Thank you, Deputy Prime Minister. I think part of the line of questioning has been, how do we as a select committee track your progress on this 1.5 million ambition? Because we don't want to get to 2029 and realise we've not. So our role is very much to scrutinise your work. What reassurance can you give us that we will have that information in a timely manner, in a way that we can understand it, and therefore challenge you as Deputy Prime Minister and Secretary of State?
I mean, that's a fair point, and I'll let the permanent set come in as well, because the civil service probably give you a less political answer than I would on this. But there's plenty of data out there. As I say, the 6% up on planning applications is a real good start.
We had 1 million planning applications that were not fulfilled in the previous.
Sure, but if you look at some of the ones that were stuck in the system, again, I've just said thousands of them we've unlocked with some of the other changes that we've made. There's a number of different indicators of data that can give you an idea of where we're going. But I said it to the Chancellor, I said it to the Prime Minister, I said it to every single Cabinet member, that the only time we've built at this level before in the past is after the Second World War, and the only reason we were able to build at that sort of level is because the state put that investment in. And that's why you saw from the Chancellor the commitment around all the other measures we've made around rent convergence, around supporting. So, for example, Arab's Law, the hazards that are a threat to life, we brought them in, we set the regulations the other week, and they'll come in October. But some of the secondary ones around decent homes, we staggered them because the landlords were saying we couldn't do this as well as match what you want on house building. And therefore I had to take a decision to say people should live in a safe home. It shouldn't risk your life to live in a home. But some of the other issues like overcrowding, for example, if I tried to fix that now, we'd have an even bigger housing crisis. Yeah. So it was a balance to be had. But you will see, and I'll let the Permanent Secretary see, there is lots of data points that you can challenge us on with the changes that we're making. But we expect within 2027, 28, you should start to see that really ramp up.